Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy CL Anthony, my main man Bryce Ward, my second favorite white boy as always, Michael Franz, and Kobe B. What is going on, fellas?
You're
Glad to be here as always.
So, as always, we have some shit to get into. Since our last recording, we have a new NBA champion. We have a couple of trades that we can discuss. So, we're going to start with congratulating the Oklahoma City Thunder on winning their first ever NBA championship in the city of Oklahoma, second in franchise history. Mike, I'm going to start with you. You have the stage, sir.
I mean, look, we know what topic is going to come up in regards to this. And that's
No. Victory
the
lap.
Halliburton.
bask in your glory, Michael.
Yeah,
No,
bask in
no.
Bask in your glory.
They got the W. It's okay. But you know what, though? Like, getting into the shit with it, of course, the effect was the Tyrese Halliburton injury. You know, I mean, I called a 20-point win. They only won by 12. But would it have been closer, or would the Pacers have won? It's possible. It's definitely possible.
Don't forget, you predicted a sweep as well.
We already starting with this shit, bro. Like,
I'm just recalling the facts, sir. That's all I'm doing.
This is where we going. So anyway, I think like it's not for me to take any victory laps or anything like that because I can sympathize with the situation that Indiana was in.
Got it. So I'm going to go to Bryce next. I'm going to Pat. So as soon as he went down, I tweeted out. I said, "Please, not like this. Like God, not like this." Halliburton got off to a hot start. Me and Bryce talked, I believe, the next day, and I told him, I said, "This is nothing against the Thunder or the Pacers or whatnot. I just felt like we were robbed of what could have been an all-time classic Game 7. Had it been Halliburton go down or even SGA, whoever would have went down, we still got robbed of a classic Game 7, I believe." So, Bryce, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, it's like we talked about, like, we don't know why the basketball gods are so cruel. Took that game from us and took Halliburton, off the court in that way. I was just proud to see Indiana pretty much garner the respect or gain the respect of most of the league. It seemed like through the series, 98% of people didn't really pick them to even make it close to that far. So it was just a real shame to watch Halliburton go down in that fashion. And once I saw that, it's like, yeah, the Pacers have a good team. They're resilient, but I don't think they're coming back from that. So it was pretty much over. And it was a shame since it happened so early in the game and that it happened to one of the better, more prolific, younger guards in the league. So it's just a shame we're going to be without him for most of next season as well, whether you like him, the Pacers, or not. You hate to see anybody get hurt like that. So yeah, it was just a real shame. Yeah, like you said, we felt like we got robbed heavily. So it's just you hate to see it, but kudos and all respect to the Thunder. They did have a great team. I don't know if it was as good as people made it out to be, but I think they can also get to where they're going through experience too, or get to that level through experience. I wasn't ready to give them that this season, and also not only is the East, as everybody is saying, wide open, but I think the West is more open too. I don't think the Thunder are still quite as dominant as some people think they are. I still think they're beatable. So it was an exciting series. It was fun to see Indiana take it to 7. It just sucks how it ended. So, but next season, it's going to be exciting to see what happens, especially with the Thunder still being healthy.
Pat, what were your thoughts on the Game 7?
Man, I felt like everybody else did when Hallie went down. It was a crazy moment there, man. Yeah, I was looking forward to an epic Game 7, but we didn't get that. The Pacers tried to hang around, the first. Well, I guess towards the end. When did he go out? In the first quarter?
First quarter.
Okay, they tried to hang in there a little bit.
7 minutes into it. You get 9 points.
Yeah, bro dropped like 9 points in like a minute and 30 seconds, So I thought it was going to be, one of those epic game sevens, but it was crazy to see him go down like that. And it kind of like, the vibe just changed in every way after that happened. So, yeah, man, to see their best player go down that early in the game, it definitely changed the outcome of the game. But it's just part of the game, man. I don't like to use injuries as an excuse when it comes to competition. It's just part of the game. So, it's a very unfortunate, but, the best team won, and we'll see what happens next year.
Absolutely. Mike, so I'm going to throw this question to you. You tweeted me the other day about it. So, as far as potentially fixing some of these devastating injuries that we've seen the last couple of years in the league, what do you propose? Let the fans, our three fans, hear what you propose as far as fixing this.
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna see any form of a fix because we've seen shorten the season. I don't think you shorten the season. I think where this transitioned is the actual transition of the game, where it's now a more fast paced game. Right? It has been over the past maybe 15 years or so. And we're now seeing where some of these guys have a lot of wear and tear on their body from running as much as they have, where earlier, early 2000s, 90s, 80s, we didn't see these type of situations happen because it was a more slower paced game, more defensive minded, chess playing, so to say. Right now it's run and gun, let me run down the court, shoot a three, get back, run back and forth. And these guys are putting miles on their legs. And it's a lot of wear and tear, period. So I don't know if there needs to be an adjustment in the training room to go with the game. I don't know how they've adjusted more towards this type of situation. But it doesn't show, the results don't show that really the training portion may have adjusted as much as the game has. So I think the training portion needs to catch up a little bit, right? So, if we're seeing these more commonly, what we've had 4 very significant ones, 3 this year. We had Kevin Durant, right? These are all lower calf strains that turn into Achilles. So it's almost like if it's a lower calf strain, you better expect your Achilles is probably going to be ready to pop. Right now, it's giving us that tail. So I don't know. I think that the NBA needs to go to the drawing board on how they need to address preventing this from a training standpoint if they're going to keep the game fast paced like this. But 82 games, we've seen 82 games played for how long?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of blame it more in the locker room.
Bryce, what are your thoughts on
it? I think it's a combination of some things. I completely agree with Mike. I've often brought up the pace of the game, the way the guys run around, and also it bleeds into another topic that I think, which is how much these guys play before they ever even get to college anymore. And they play learning that fast pace. So not only are they playing a lot more at a younger age with the AAU, but they're doing it in a style that may not be great for preserving their body for later on when the game's just as physical or as tough. It's not like the style slows down and you get to relax. It's just it's always on 100. So I think the pace is a thing. I think AAU is a thing. I've seen people talk about the schedule, and I agree with Mike. I think that's a bit. I think that's like one step too far. I don't think that's the problem. Sometimes I think maybe the amount of games, how compact the schedule is, can be an issue in terms of sometimes there's back-to-backs. You'll play 3, 4, or you'll play like 4 games in a week. You'll be traveling. All those things kind of weaken your resilience to begin with. So I'm sure there's multiple pieces of the puzzle, but maybe you guys can answer a question for me because I haven't kept up with football the way I have basketball. Is this like a common injury in football, or any other kind of sport, because I would look to see what other leagues and what other players and athletes have done to kind of combat that, because I imagine it's more because of the style of play that these athletes have to play and how big they are, that there has to be some kind of comp somewhere to and my first guess was like football. It's like, is this a common football thing as well? And it's like, what has the NFL done? And if not, I'd like, you're just kind of in a boat by yourself. You have to figure it out. But I think it's a combination of like three different elements, and it's AAU, it's the pace, and it's how compact the schedule is. But I don't really have a way to fix it. You're not going to tell kids to stop playing, and if the style is the style that's winning, they're going to keep playing that style. I guess guys are just going to have to be better about taking care of their body. I mean, it's not like LeBron, for his size and what he's done, shouldn't be subject to similar type things, injuries, and he's kind of always been a freak, but he's always just poured money into taking care of himself. So I think, I mean, he's just a freak athlete, but I think LeBron can also be a bit of a role model for how these guys need to take care of themselves going forward, whether it be for that injury or kind of anything.
Got it. I'm gonna answer real quick, and I'm gonna throw it to Pat. So from what I've seen in the NFL, is more still ACLs than Achilles. That's what I see in the NFL. I think Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, I believe. I think that was like the last big one in the NFL. But generally, there you just see more knee injuries than lower leg injuries.
Yeah.
Pat, what do you think should be done as far as maybe slowing down this injury rate, specifically with Achilles pops?
Man, I'm going to go against all three of y'all in most of the world.
That's fine.
Nobody knows what y'all are talking about. And when I say that, I mean it's all theory. Nobody knows exactly why this is happening. And it's only been 4 people that we can name off the top of our heads in the last 25 years. So it's not like
no. It's been more than that.
Well, name me some, bro. Because
okay, so Kobe Torre popped his Achilles.
Okay,
DeJounte Murray popped his Achilles.
I'm surprised you didn't know about Kobe.
Yeah, you had Dame, of course. You had Jason Tatum. You had Kevin Durant. You've had Jesus Christ, Tyrese Halliburton. Back in the day, you've had that. Hold on. Back in the day, you had Dominique Wilkins pop his Achilles. You had Isaiah Thomas pop his Achilles. It retired Isaiah Thomas. We've had it, and there's other players in between too, like lower name players. Mike had one in Detroit. I can't think of his name right now. There's been Achilles pops.
There's like accurate information that is giving us numbers of Achilles popping in the last 75 years from NBA players. So
in the last 25 years, yeah.
That's 20 because you went past that with Dominique and.
But it's facts.
The significance is we had three in the span of like 4 weeks.
Okay, I think we like to jump on the new story. I'm watching the Bulls and the Pacers right now, and y'all talking about pace of game, bro. Showtime Lakers. I mean, that was pretty high pace. I mean, style. I don't think that has anything to really do with it. I think it's just unfortunate. I think it's just what's going on now. I don't think you can really pinpoint and say it's the amount of playtime or the way they train or anything, because we don't know. It's all speculation. So until we figure that out, you just have to kind of do the best you can. It's not like if it was common, we wouldn't even be talking about it. So I think we're just overblowing this right now and just need to see how it really plays out. That's my opinion on that.
Well, the numbers are showing that it's becoming common. Let's be real. Usually, you would see one of these every couple of years, and it would be a player who was on his way out anyway. Now you're seeing younger guys, younger than 27 years old, tearing, popping their Achilles. So there is something to that. There is, and from AAU, as Bryce said, from the minutes, the travel, it's something with that. It's correlation with it. So we can't sit here and say it's not a non-story. We can look at the NFL and talk about a
I think
non-story.
we're making correlations.
Hold on, wait. Let me
We're
finish.
looking for something.
Hey, respectfully, I didn't cut you off. Don't cut me off. So
Okay.
you can look at the NFL from 20 years ago, a non-story which became CTE, which was one of the biggest things ever in football. If no one would have called it out, it would have never became a thing. So at some point, we have to sit down and say, hey, we see the numbers, we see this increasing, so we have to ask ourselves, why is this increasing? You get what I'm saying? So we're not blaming the athletes at all. We're just saying there's some system in place that's not right, that's starting to affect the game. That's what we're saying.
What is that? Because nobody seems to know.
We don't know, and you don't know initially, but it's something that's different. It's something in the water that's different now than it was 25 years ago. It is.
My rebuttal to that is those guys weren't supreme athletes. They weren't eating the best foods. They didn't have the highest available technology, physical therapy. They were drug users. They weren't, they didn't have all of this modern medicine that we have, and the injuries weren't as frequent. So, like
their workload wasn't as strong. Their workload wasn't as strong. They sat on their ass all off season to play golf and play cards.
That's not true, though.
Could we have possibly attested to maybe shoe style as well? A lot of guys are wearing a lot of guys are preferably wearing low cut shoes. Where back in the day they were high cut, more protection on the ankle and Achilles.
Yeah, what you think about that, Pat? Because when we grew up, it was high
Converse. They played in Converse. They played in Pro Wings, bro. Like,
right? Were high. They were higher tops. That Nike Air Force One high tops, the Uptowns, right? That was a big shoe back then. Man. Right now they're wearing Kobe low tops, the Kobe Protros.
Right. So we blaming shoes, bro. It's a lot of speculation, man. That's why, bro. Like, shoe technology is its best right now, bro. Like,
but there's no protection of the ankle or Achilles on those on these shoes.
Well, they're designed that way for a reason. I don't know.
I would think that their style more than anything, because I would want to have my ankles protected as much as possible.
Kobe designed his shoe. Both of his. I can't remember the timeline, but he did design the low. I don't know if it was before or after his injury, but it was for a reason.
Do you believe that it's not for sales purposes, or could be for sales purposes?
It could be, but you or I don't know that.
I mean, the Kobe Grinches, if you go, which are a low cut Protro, those are the famous ones that are light green. Those sell on StockX for over $1,000 a pair right now.
Okay.
So there's profitability in the market when it's appealing to the public.
Okay.
Are there any mids or high tops selling right now?
I wouldn't think, not really. I mean, I think KD went to Lowe's.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron went to Lowe's. I can't really think of many that would be mids.
Right.
No high. I don't think of any highs. You're going to get mids at best.
Right. And that could be something, because, like I said, and sorry, Bryce, but when, me, Pat, Mike was growing up, it was high tops and mids. That's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to pivot, because I know, again, some stuff happened since we recorded last week. So Kevin Durant finally got traded and went to the Houston Rockets. I'm going to throw it to Pat first. Pat, what do you think the impact of KD in Houston is going to be?
Man. Impact as far as like on the league overall, I don't really think it's going to do anything. The West is open. I think that was a mistake for Houston. I said this before that, when all the talk was going on, to give up your young talent for this guy, his 18th year. That's crazy to me. I know it's KD, but they don't have enough to win just with KD. Like, they need something else. They gave up. Didn't they give up Dylan Brooks, and who else did they give up?
Jalen Green.
Yeah, Jalen Green.
Yeah, besides
Jalen
him, they gave
Brooks.
up somebody else besides him.
So it was Brooks, Green, and some picks.
Yeah, 5 second
Oh,
round
some
picks
picks.
in a
Okay,
first round.
I
Yeah.
thought they gave up somebody else too. My bad. But yeah, you gave up your future for what? Ticket sales? That was crazy to me. That was a dumb move. I don't
Do you think the
agree
Suns won that trade?
with Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks over KD. Currently, I would say no, like in real time, but long term, I think they did. I think the
They might have
Suns.
did. Yeah. Bryce, what are your thoughts on it?
I think it was a good move for Houston, who came in to the postseason at number 2 and kind of showed that they were still a little bit inexperienced once it came to that to the postseason. But I think Jalen Green, I think they saw what they think they need to see out of him in terms of being a number 1 option, and I just don't think they were impressed with that, as a lot of people were not. Which might have been a little hasty. Like I said, is really his first time doing that, or having to step up on that stage. But how, it doesn't matter. This is what Houston thought. So they went out and got, I mean, he's arguably still the most efficient go-to scorer in the league, who's still going to get you 20. So I think from Houston's perspective, for everybody saying even the West is open, they're trying to take advantage of an opportunity. I don't hate it if your opinion of Green, or Williams, what's his name that they traded? I get so mixed up. I'm so sorry.
All the Jalen's.
Yeah.
Jalen Green.
Okay. I'm just making sure I wasn't wrong. So I think they're just betting on him not panning out quite the same way they originally hoped. But I don't. The Dylan Brooks part of it, their defensive identity will take a hit, and I believe enough in what Udoku has done up until this point that I think he can kind of hide whatever they need to hide with Durant being there on defense, and I think they're really impressed with the Thompson kid coming up. He showed that he was really catching on and doing some great things as the season went on. It seemed like he was getting better. And in terms of another scoring option, Sengun is there, and he seems to be getting better with each season as well. So I feel like that they think they just gave up some youth and maybe some defense for what their biggest issue was, and that was, being able to go get a bucket when they needed it, a real efficient score. So I agree with Pat. It's kind of like a bet. It's kind of like hedging your youth for some more win now mentality. But it's not like Green was a certified bona fide number 1 star either. So it's not the worst bet. I have a hard time bringing in Durant for like personally. I've had an issue with believing in him to take your team over the hump. Because he's never really been able to prove that he could do it by himself, or at least as the number 1 option. Because in my eyes, when he did it with Golden State, that's still Steph. So I personally don't think KD is the savior that he's been heralded before by other teams when they get him, and so it's very much a gamble in my eyes. If I'm a Houston fan, though, I am excited about it, because I do think they might have kind of reached a ceiling with their old team without just gaining more experience, and then you're betting on a younger player. So I like the move for Houston in terms of trying to win now. I still want to be proven wrong by KD that he can kind of lead a team that way. So I'm pulling for Houston. They're out west. I'd like to see them get better and make a deeper playoff run. I like how they're building their team. I'll be interested to see, like everybody, what if KD can take them to another level. But I like the move for Houston.
Mike, so I know as always you're close to it, being so close to Phoenix. I didn't like Dylan Brooks being involved in the deal. I think Phoenix, as Bryce said, Houston will lose some of that defensive identity with Dylan Brooks being gone. But from a Phoenix standpoint, as Pat said, I think in the long run, it's actually advantage Phoenix. So what do you think about it, Mike?
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say I completely disagree, but the Houston Rockets gave up 5 second-round picks. They still hold all of the first-round picks that Phoenix gave up for KD. So they had advantage in the conversation because of the fact that KD, the relationship with KD and Phoenix completely soured at the deadline. So I think Houston took advantage of that, and I will completely agree that I think Dylan Brooks is the X factor in the whole trade as to how Phoenix could be considered as a winner. It's not the picks and it's not Jalen Green, because Jalen Green, unless they can parlay him into somebody else, if they decide to keep Devin Booker and move on from Jalen Green and give him to somebody, see what that turns into. So jury's still out on that. Unless they get rid of Devin Booker and rely on Jalen Green, could be a different story too, right? So there's a lot that can go when you have the depth of where shooting guard is literally 3 technical stars. Like Jalen Green is an up-and-coming star. Devin Booker is a star. Bradley Beal is he's an injured star.
He used to be a star.
Right. So, I mean, he's a walking bucket, let's be honest, regardless. If he's healthy, he's a walking bucket. So I hate the move for Phoenix because that's what they did. And we're forgetting that Houston still has a point guard in Fred VanVleet that can score at will too.
Right.
Fred VanVleet is a bucket too. So the only missing position really at this point is like a shooting guard. They have the other 4 spots solidified. So I think that Houston, if we can all agree that KD is better than Jalen Green, which I think we can all agree with, that X factor becomes Dylan Brooks. But as far as future goes, I mean, I watched the second round. If you look at the second round of the draft, it was just trade after trade after trade after trade. I'm going to be honest. Nobody really cares about the second round. These guys are going to really hit a home run or you're not going to get anything with these guys. So to give up 5 of them, especially if Houston is actually going to be playing well and those picks aren't that great, hey, you're not going to get a Jokic all the time. Jokic was in the second round. I get this. Draymond Green was in the second round. I get this. But we're talking about 2 players over the span of the past 10 years that have made significant impacts to become stars. The second round really isn't all that big of a deal.
Gilbert Arenas.
10 years. I said 10 years.
You're good.
10 years.
Pre-qualifier, my bad.
10 Pat, not 20.
My bad.
So
it's uncommon. We can say that. It's uncommon. Yeah.
Right. So, and my point to this is also within where the league could be going, where I think, Bryce, you and I were having this conversation a little bit about the draft, where I think the draft is becoming very watered down. We're not going to see a set of stars like we did from the early 2000s until, let's say, 2018. There were a lot of real stars in there that were able to challenge Hall of Fame numbers. And I don't think we're going to see that type of a run. I think we're into a phase now where we're into role players right now. We don't have big names really coming out anymore.
Bronny James, don't forget Bronny James.
So
let's not get Cameron going on that. We'll spend an hour on Bron James. All right,
I'm not saying anything.
I know. I just want to cut you off before you get going.
I wasn't going to say anything, sir. Don't assume, sir. So,
and can I add one thing real quick regarding Phoenix?
Go ahead.
Where Phoenix kind of even hurt themselves even more. In the draft, they used that number 10 pick to draft the center, and then they traded for Mark Williams. It makes me confused as to what they're actually planning on doing, which tells me even if those second round picks were good, Phoenix will find some way to screw it up.
Yeah, because don't you guys have like 100 shooting guards and then like 3 centers now, and that's about it? Really?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Your depth chart is weighted to one side extremely.
And Bradley Beal is supposed to be bought out. That's going to hurt the cap space because it's going to be a $50 million.
Oh God, they're not going to buy him out. Are you serious?
Yeah. Nobody will take the contract. It's a terrible contract.
But if you're going to buy him out, then why trade Durant? Because if you do the buyout, you can stretch that.
Well, because he's probably going to end up being off injured, and they don't want to deal with that. Get rid of him now. Let him do whatever he's going to do, and then they can build on how. Unless they decide to put Booker at the point, which we've seen in the past, does not work. Yeah. It does not work. they have to move Jalen Green or they have to move Devin Booker if they keep Bradley Beal. I mean, shit, if they buy him out, I don't know. It's all up in the air.
Cam, would you rather drag out the rebuild or the retooling that Phoenix is going to go through? Because realistically, they're probably still not going to be great next year in a heavy West. Would you rather just rip that Band-Aid off, get Bill off, take one bad year off, and then start back at it, or would you drag this out?
Well, like Mike said, they would have to they would have to cut him, do a buyout with him, and then stretch that contract out, which would come off the books. But they're just fucked either way. They're just fucked either way.
Absolutely.
They're going to score a lot of points. There's not going to be the defense. They're bad.
I don't think they're even going to score a lot of points this season. They lost their main bucket.
Look, Jalen Green is going to be like 30. Him and Booker's going to be like 30-point averages.
Devin Booker's going to have such high usage, he's going to get a lower calf strain, and he's going to have to sit.
There's that too.
And you're going to have to start wearing high tops. Yeah.
There you go, Pat. So moving on. So we did have the, to me, very uneventful NBA draft. The one guy I wanted to get, I couldn't get, and the one guy we got, everybody said it's good, but didn't nobody know who the fuck he was. So I don't know. So
when I saw the Magic couldn't get Walter Clayton, I was just glad to see the Heat didn't get him, because anytime we don't get something that the Heat don't want, I'm glad to see them lose as well. It brings me joy.
Fuck you and your bullshit ass little team in Florida. All right. So Mike.
Walter Clayton's like an inch taller. And y'all wanted him bad, so it's okay.
This is how bad the NBA draft was, right? So I'm watching it and I see this kid named Dylan Harper, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Ron Harper's son.
And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's Ron Harper's son? And then Love talking about his damn mama. His mama.
Everybody was clowning. Everybody was clowning ESPN's coverage, how bad it was.
I was just like, what is this, right?
Bro, did you see his mom, bro?
Yes, I saw his mom.
Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it.
Shit. That's the best thing Ron Harper's ever did. Okay.
I said Ron Harper had her, bro. Oh my God, he put 2 in her, bro.
So we
what? 2. Hey, his other son is an NBA player. His other son.
Not yet. I think he's younger. Yeah, he's younger. So with that said, I know Mike and Bryce had a Twitter debate, so I'm gonna let Mike start it, and then Bryce can do his rebuttal about this Ace Bailey situation.
Oh man.
So we were talking in regards to the entitlement that some of these players have these days.
Okay. You there, Mike?
Mike's gone.
Say something slick, Bryce.
I'm here.
Ace Bailey heard he was talking shit, cut his
right. So we've seen this a couple times in the NFL. More recently with Shedeur Sanders. We've also seen it now with Ace Bailey. There were these guys who are like, hey, I don't want to be drafted by this team. Now, throwing it back even further into the NFL, back I think it's 2004, Eli Manning did the same thing, right? So I think I feel like the NFL has caught on. It's going to be interesting because the NBA, I think that was dependent on the team, and Utah gave 0 fucks and said, I'm taking you anyway, right? So I don't know. I'm at this point where it's hard for me to support some of these young individuals that may have skill when they sit here and they act like they can dictate where they go. If you get drafted, bro, be happy where you get drafted with. If you don't like it, perform and get out. Get traded, go for free agency, get a big contract, whatever it is. I don't know why it's so hard for some of these kids these days to sit here and try and say, I have a once-in-a-lifetime shot at this, and I'm going to screw it up. Look what happened with Shedeur Sanders. That man went from 1st round to 5th. and he went to a team he didn't want to go to. Cleveland even said, "Okay, cool, we'll draft you," because it was one of two teams. It was either Pittsburgh, because they didn't have a quarterback until they just signed Aaron Rodgers, and Cleveland didn't have a quarterback either until they just added all these guys from the draft and Joe Flacco, right? So they have a whole big room now, but they said, hey, we're going to take you anyway. So I like how the teams are kind of stepping up in this position to literally say, we're taking you whether you like it or not.
So, Bryce, what was your feedback on that?
It was pretty much, I think we almost came to the same conclusion where it was like, I was saying let the kids do what they want and let them learn their lessons. You know, whether or not it works or not, it's a lesson for the younger group coming up, whether or not that works or not. I think there's so many variables to this though, because I think your talent can overwhelm what you're saying in the sense of the Ace Bailey situation. You had a guy in charge in Utah who doesn't really care about what the fuck anybody thinks. So he really doesn't care about, you know, what some young guy out of college, where he wants to go. So you had a GM who was willing to pick him. But that's the kind of I think leadership you need if you're gonna pick a guy like that, because I think we're going to see more of it now that, see, everybody was complaining, saying these young guys go out to college and they don't get paid nothing. But now they're getting paid in a way to where they're less desperate to get into the league. They have some leverage now because they're already making money. And then also, I think it's a generational thing where these kids are coming up. They're more coddled. They're more spoiled than we were. And I think the entitlement, when you're not so desperate for money anymore coming into the league, it changes everybody's perspective. So a guy like Ace Bailey, with his talent and his mindset, he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to control where I go. But then you have to have a hard-nosed GM on the other side that says that's not how this business works. You know, just because you've gotten your way your whole life doesn't mean you get to come in here and dictate terms on this stage. And he would have ruined his reputation if he didn't show up in Utah, and no other player after that would do that again. That was my take. He showed up. He did what he had to do yesterday. I think he's gonna fall in line in Utah. I think they were just trying to do everything they could. Also, his agent isn't an experienced agent. He just hired, I don't know if it's a buddy or friend or whatever, but he's got an agent handling his situation that's not experienced. And I think it could have went very badly for him in a sense, the way the Sanders situation went in the NFL. I also think if Sanders would have been a more polished quarterback for the NFL specifically, and then handled the behind the scenes stuff a little bit better, he wouldn't have fallen that far. But I don't think it was all. I don't think it was all how he handled it. I think there were people just believe there are better options out there at that position for the NFL. But whether or not you believe that or not, it all comes down to these players and how they want to dictate the situation. They can try. The guys have tried to control where they've went in the past, and sometimes it works out for them, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it needs to be left up to the individual. If you want to risk it, if you want to risk your dreams that you've had your whole childhood, then come in. You can talk a big game, but we just saw, like, Utah called his bluff. What's he going to do? Not play in the NBA? Okay. No, he's not going to do that. He reported to Utah yesterday. He's going to be ready to go, because these guys can talk a big game, but at the end of the day, if someone calls their bluff, I don't believe. I mean, they can go have a European career, but no player who's that high in the lottery, no guy's going to go do that. So I like the move. Kudos to Ace Bailey for attempting to do what he was trying to do, but in reality, the real control, especially if you're a rookie still who hasn't proven anything, all the power is with the teams in the league. So you can come in trying to flex, but it's not going to always work out for you. And like we saw, there was another guy, I forget, Toronto drafted him, and you could see him on
Colin Murray Boyles.
You could see him say "fuck," like he was disappointed. You know, you're about to make millions of dollars, though. I know you've already made money, but no one's going to feel bad for you. You know, suck it up. Go play where the team who wanted you picked you. Go there. Because on the flip side, I'm bad with names. The Sixers also drafted a kid, and he told his story about how he had to live with like 4 or 5 siblings, and his mom had to buy a generator or whatever to keep him warm or to keep the lights on, whatever. And he was just
BJ
happy to
Edgecombe.
be there. And I was like, everybody's going to root for that kind of guy before they root for a kid who, you know, is spoiled and is complaining about having to go to Utah. It's like the feel good story is the Sixers kid who's just happy that his dreams came true and now he gets to provide for his family. That's how these guys need to come in, being grateful. But when you get paid in college, I think that takes away a lot of that. So I mean, we wanted everybody to earn what they should earn or what they deserve to make in college, but I think it's having a quite somewhat a negative effect when it comes to these guys' mentality when they come into the league.
I'm going to say this real quick, and I'm going to throw it to Pat. But the kid that got drafted to Toronto, we know he's a milkman, and he's going to be absolutely okay in Toronto. So, Pat, what do you think about Ace Bailey?
Wow, that was a lot, man. Okay, so to call someone spoiled or entitled because they want more control over their career path, to me, is very judgmental.
Well, for a rookie, not a guy like
Yeah.
KD or you know, someone who's been in the league, you come in with entitlement. It's a little bit different than coming in and earning it, in my eyes. Not
It'd
that
be
they can't get
different.
there, but you have to earn it.
It'd be different if he was somebody that could have competed.
Sorry,
for the
I didn't mean
number
to
one pick.
interrupt. It was just you just started. I was like, that's
Thank
not
you,
exactly what I meant.
Thank you. I was just waiting. Okay, so wow. Shador Sanders sliding to the 5th round because he's unpolished. He opened his mouth, and that's the reason why they're showing these guys their place. That is wow. That is crazy to me. These players are very valuable to these owners, and it should be a business. How should I say this? It should be a level of respect there equally. Yes, you own the team and you have all the control, and what you say goes, but you do owe a lot to these players that are coming to your team. So it's not one-sided where they should just be groveling and to be grateful to be drafted by these all-powerful and all-knowing owners and GMs, because a lot of these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing either. So yeah, man, I like when a player is taking control of their future, of their destiny, and has input. To be so young and have that insight that early, because you see it in other players who did take that control. And for those, it doesn't really work out for players like LeBron, who went to fucking Cleveland and had to deal with GMs and the owner that fucking stupid, and was like, damn, bro, I need to get the fuck from around here, bro, to go win so I can become a NBA legend and have a long legacy. You know, you use it against the argument against his legacy in that way. Well, he didn't have help and all of this. When a young guy coming in saying, man, I would prefer to play in Brooklyn where I can make more money from endorsements and have a bigger market for me, my brand to personally flourish, than go to fucking Utah. That is crazy, bro. So we have a different opinion on that, where players should be just grateful to be drafted, and GMs are all knowing, and these owners are so smart and they know what they're doing. I don't know. I like this new era. I like these young cats coming in like, nah, we're learning from these old players and what they went through. These GMs don't know what they're talking about. And to punish a player like Shador and put him in whatever round he got drafted in, this man, I don't follow college football closely, but I know he will sell fucking tickets in Tampa or Cleveland or Jacksonville, and he's not a scrub. I know that. So this, like, to me, bro, that's like an old ass S-word mentality, bro. Like this is 2025, bro. You know, players have more. We're like we know more. Not we. People know more. We have access to more information. They're more business savvy. They have more control over their destiny. That's like caveman thinking to say, you know your place and be grateful to be here. That is, to me, it's more levels to that I don't even want to touch on. But
That's what I was kind of getting
bro,
at.
that's
Like,
crazy.
The talent can take you farther than that, because instead of Ace Bailey slipping to the second round, Utah said, "No, we believe in him. We're just not going to believe in his what it up to that point were threats." My whole thing from the beginning was, if Ace Bailey wants to take this chance and he falls or he slips and he doesn't get drafted, he's losing money. Everybody says go get the bag when you can get the bag. You slip, you lose money. And if you don't get drafted at all, you lose even more money. My thing wasn't that he shouldn't do what he's doing. What I'm saying is that it's a gamble and he has to live with the results regardless. Utah just called the bluff. But so we saw the opposite of what happened to Shador compared to Ace, where they were just like, no, we're going to take a risk because we believe in how talented he is. They just called his bluff, not that Ace could try to control the situation. I'm just saying sometimes the talent level dictates if that's going to work or not, or whether or not you still get picked. I can respect the move to try to control your own destiny. I'm just saying, when you're a rookie, it's a big gamble, and sometimes it doesn't work out. So you have to live with that, whether or not, because you're not going to beat the big machine as a rookie. So it's like kudos for having the belief in yourself to do it. I just hope it works out for him. I hate to see such a talented young dude kind of put a stain on his career and lose out on money. That's all. Like, it's a gamble, and if it works out, cool. If not, who else do you have to blame other than yourself? And then Utah is just like, nah, we like him. We want him here. So it's like a gamble on both ends. That's all I was saying. Not like you should come in and not try it, but it's a gamble. So it's like, do you want to make sure, or do you want to be safe and secure, or do you want to, maybe lose out on millions of dollars? That's all I'm saying.
So this is what you do. This is what you do. Hold on, Mike. I'm sorry. This is what you do. You get your foot in the door first. You get in the door by virtue of your talent, of what others believe in your talent. So you get in the door first. You secure the bag once you're in the door, and then you show your fucking ass. Okay. And I'm just using that on a personal basis. There's a lot of doors that I've gotten into, and a lot of jobs I've gotten into by virtue of my fucking name before people have laid eyes on me. Okay. Then once I get in the position, I work hard, and then I say, I dare you to fire me. I'm going to do things my way and the way I want to do it. I'm going to dictate these terms. Okay. So that's how you got to play the game. So we're not saying player empowerment is a bad thing. We're just saying get in the door first. Then you can show your ass and
that's not what y'all were saying.
That's exactly what we were saying.
That's what we're saying.
Like y'all were saying that these men are supposed to be grateful just to be there. That's what y'all
absolutely
get in the door. Yes, you're grateful.
That's not the same thing.
Yes,
it absolutely
once you're in there, your talent will speak for itself. Everyone walking the face of this earth should be grateful to be drafted to any sports profession or to be promoted to any position. Everyone should be grateful for that, because the powers that be can snap their fucking fingers and take that away from you. Anyone, everyone has a boss. Everyone has a boss, right? Look, Donald fucking Trump has a boss. Okay, so anyone can have their power, and he does. So anyone can have their power taken away. You get what I'm saying? But you have to get in the door first. So yes, you have to be grateful for that. That's why we saw young men crying, their family members crying, because they're grateful for the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Being grateful for the opportunity is different than, oh, massa, let me kiss your ass. Those are two different conversations. You can be grateful and not be on your knees sucking dick. It's two completely different things. Okay? So they can be grateful for the opportunity, and then when they get the opportunity, take that shit by the balls and run with it, like LeBron did. Like you said, Cleveland ain't do shit for him. He went somewhere else and won. Learned how to be a winner and won. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's how it is. So it is. You can be grateful, but you don't necessarily have to grovel. So there is a separation there. Mike, go ahead.
Do we all know who Hansel Emmanuel is?
Yeah, the kid with the one arm. Yeah.
Right. You think he, as good as he is, you think he would have loved to be drafted number 5?
He went undrafted.
He went
Okay.
undrafted.
Yeah.
He went undrafted. And that man was good even with one arm.
Yeah.
So when I sit here and I see things like the situation that Ace Bailey is in, where he tried to do that, I look at Hansel Emmanuel and I'm like, from that perspective, this early in their NBA career, that man emotionally deserved to be drafted higher than Ace Bailey. Maybe not talent-wise, but emotionally. Because that man has been through a lot. And his respect for being able to be, he actually got signed as an undrafted player. So he got picked up, but I don't think anything's going to happen with that contract, but at least he's going to forever have his name in stitch with the NBA. But these are the differences in that attitude. That attitude. It's not a right to be in the NBA. It's not a right to be in the NFL. It's not a right to be in the MLB. It's a privilege. It's a privilege. There's only 472 people that get to be in the NBA. And this guy got to be in the top 5 of this year's draft. Humble yourself, bruh. I'm not saying like
Know your
said,
place,
I'm not saying
boy.
grovel.
Know your place.
No, I'm not saying that at all. Hell no, I'm not saying that at all. Just understand the gift that you've been given, bro.
Pat, you close it.
Y'all tried to clean it up on the end. Y'all basically telling these players to stay in line and know your place.
No, that's
And
not
then
what
y'all
we're
try
saying.
after
Okay,
I-
let me be perfect.
That's not the case because they have options.
Yeah.
They don't have to play in the NBA. They can go someplace else and play for less money. That's not the case.
Let me be perfectly clear. Use whatever you got to use to get in the door. And then when you get in the door, then you can let the nigga out. That's what the fuck I'm saying. I'm
not going against what you said, Cam.
No, he's going against what I said. Let's call it out really
And
what it is. He's going against what I said.
You with what you and Bryce said. Y'all both agree. No, I agree with that, Cam. We know you have to humble yourself and get in the door and then prove yourself.
Right.
We know that. Right.
I think I see where that's going.
But
I think
these players are coming from a new perspective. We know our place. Yeah. We bring a lot to the table.
That's sad that it has to go there.
And so therefore, I like the player empowerment and them taking control of their destiny. We need to just be grateful and bringing up disabled people coming into the league. That don't have nothing to do with this man trying to make the best opportunity for himself. And it was a gamble for him to do it. And he knew that prior to doing that. He has an agent, a team of people assisting him in this journey. It's just not some 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid just willy-nilly out here. Wasn't Rich Paul sitting next to him during the draft? Somebody was, an agent was. So, bro, it ain't just like, we just not. It ain't the same way no more. It's a new day.
But we have seen people's inner circle give bad advice. I mean,
That's true.
I'm not arguing with it. I'm just saying, just because he has people around him doesn't mean that they're looking out for his best interest either. Or that they have the best advice either. It was a gamble. It still worked out. He's just not going where he wants to go. It's still fine. He's still going to make his money.
We're not disagreeing on that point, but what I'm disagreeing on is telling people to be humble and nobody has this. A lot of people don't have this opportunity. Ace Bailey does. He's talented as fuck, and he's going to be a star in this league. So
I would tell Cooper Flag he needs to be humble. I would tell any professional athlete you could have one injury in college. It takes everything away. It doesn't have to be your choices or anything. I would still be grateful and humble to get there. It's like I agree more with how Cam put it in terms of, you know, you get there and you prove it, and then you get your foot in the door, and then you control your narrative. It's just that beginning step, and I like the idea of player empowerment and that stuff. It's always you don't hold all the cards, and so it's just the gamble. That's all. That's where I'm like, do you want a sure thing, or do you want to gamble? And that's all about someone's perspective. You can't get in someone's head. Everybody's gonna have a different idea on how that works. So it's like it was. That's all I can keep coming back to is it's always going to be a gamble when you go against the grain. And if your talent's good enough, you know, then it's not going to matter long term anyways. So that's all.
With that.
Mike, what you got?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
I think everybody got their point across. Whether or not you agree or not, I think everybody kind of got their point.
Okay. So with that said, we're going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. Everyone stay safe, and we are out.
Deuces!